civilian Satan? You look like the manager of a Hot Topic.
Are you gonna kneel? Are you gonna kneel so I can pee in your mouth? I need to use a facility somewhere.
Oh no, please no, like please. This won't do it.
All right. While we're waiting, I would like people to perhaps shout out that which gives them joy. What is... My mom gives Rebecca joy. What else gives people joy? Oh, now the stage horrors are quiet.
Your dad!
Oh, wow. Wow. I am in a lowbrow sandwich. Mr. Matt.
Flowers.
Flowers. I can accept flowers. That's a great reason. Another thing that gives... Chocolate gives you joy. What else gives people joy? Rick Patrick, what gives you joy? Playing poker. I thought you were going to say seeing fools slip on the sidewalk. Oh yeah, wow. Me too. We were graceful when we were younger. We were graceful when we were younger. Well, I'm going to keep on going because I don't like dead air and because I'm a stage whore and I like this stuff. So, take off my pants. You don't want You don't want that. You know, like, no, I don't even want that. I yell at myself in the mirror when I get naked. I'm like, put those back on! So, you can't spell late motherfucker without MTA. Am I right?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I bitch about the MTA a little?
Do it.
Sure. All right. Because I'm confused. I am not going to go after the MTA employees because I actually believe that they do work pretty damn hard by and large, and a few of them have saved my ass, particularly back in the drinking days. Officer McDonald in the Coney Island station that I woke up to on the F train in particular. I may owe her my life. But I have questions for the MTA. I feel like it's designed with sadness and madness and maybe a little bit of acid. The express trains, we understand what the express train is, right? Mm-hmm. It's a train that is designed to go expressly from one point to the other quite fast. It's supposed to get there quickly, and yet it seems to wait for the locals sometimes. And when I mean wait, not even in the station, in the middle where there are no doors, as if it didn't want the local to feel bad, as if it's waiting for the local to catch up. And then, did anyone hear they found bed bugs on the 4 train? No. They did. Even the subway masturbators are now have the willies, my friends. It is uncomfortable. They found Ebola on the G, but nobody knew because it never fucking comes, so we never had to deal with it. The G is more of an illusion. It's really not actually a thing. I have a question for you, though. I have a thought. We all agree, for the most part, that over 40 years ago, they spoke, and a man on the moon spoke back. We landed on the moon, and he talked to us. We agree with this?
Yeah.
We agree that this happened, right? And when you heard, what did he say when he touched down on the moon?
One
small step
for man,
yeah.
One giant leap for mankind.
And you all understood when he said it. It was quite clear. And the moon is very far away. We agree on that, right?
Yeah.
Like further than any place on Earth, like hopefully we agree on that, right?
Yeah.
All right. Since then, since this person who spoke clearly and we understood this person on the moon, since then we would also agree that communications have gotten pretty amazing. Like we even have stuffed animals that could talk to you from a couple 100 feet away and you would understand what they say. Agreed?
Yes.
You're all still with me, like we're all on the same page. We all have little computers in our pocket that if we were to put the sound up, you could hear those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question. How far do you think the person on the MTA intercom is away from you? Like 50 feet? Isn't it kind of weird? It's a little weird. It's like the only communication device in the world that now doesn't work. You know, it's as if the person who designed the intercom in the MTA was perhaps raised where they had an intercom in their room when they were little and their parents said such hurtful, awful things to them that they decided to build an intercom where no one would ever be hurt by words again. They would never have that moment where they're like, those words have made me feel diminished because you can't understand it. And there are times where I'd like to understand what the MTA is saying because they do things where the F actually becomes the L, and it becomes the L Express, and really it's the G, and then it does at 4 a.m., it just goes backwards expressly. And when they tell you that is they say, stand clear of the closing doors, which we know. We all know that. I think, right? We know about the doors. Maybe this person who designed the intercom that didn't want to hurt anyone, maybe it was a babysitter who, after they said something on this intercom to this poor child, that they did something horrible with the door. And he's like, okay, they can understand the part about the door, but nothing else. Nothing else. We'll be understood. We will be in a mystery, an exciting adventure where you open the door in a subway station and it's surprise. Welcome to some part of New York where you're not quite sure where you are. Every day is an adventure with the MTA. So give them love and thank the MTA. Don't actually fuck with them. It's actually, they deal with horrible, drunk, miserable yuppies. I don't want to fuck with them. But I do think the people who plan these things have an explanation. So that is my thoughts on the MTA. Will, how are we doing? Because I got stories. I'll keep going. Should I keep going, folks? Do we want the story about the balloon fairy princess?
Sure.
Do we want the story about the crazy man in Washington Square Park who started out as an admirer and then made me feel sad about myself?
Oh, that.
Or
The old switcheroo.
the old switcheroo. That's my business plan. Here's a balloon. Can I have some money? Oh. And repeat for 18 years. Until you're a desperate man in leather pants. Am I trendy enough to be in a club? I now have glowing balloons. I know. I have like neon balloons. It's very scary, very scary. All right, I'll tell Balloon Fairy Princess. And then we're going to bring up Will. I gave him that heartfelt thing, and it's like, oops, there's 10 minutes, you schmuck. Yeah, and that's what happens when you put a stone balloon man in front of a microphone introducing people. It's exciting for all of us. The way you are in the MTA, that's how my entire life is. I'm always surprised by where I am.
Yeah.
I used to make balloons at Tavern on the Green, which was the highest grossing restaurant in the world. And this is when I started Leather Pants, about 14 years ago. And I would go in and I would work tips, and I was quite the drinker back then too. And one day at Tavern on the Green, it was beautiful out. And I have a theory when it comes to children, is I usually don't like American kids.
Yeah!
Sorry, I'm kidding. For those of you with American children, I'm sure in this room they have been raised to be nice and polite and obey the social contract. But the rest of them, But very often, particularly coming from where I come from now, you watch parents dump their gender shit on their kids, particularly with girls. And it is so overt and crazy, where you watch parents get nervous about shit that kids just roll with. So my deal is, boy or girl, I give you the same spiel. And even as the parents try and pick and choose the boy and girl stuff, I keep talking. Which affects tips, but it makes me feel okay about myself. And that spiel is, hi, my name is John Murdock. I make anything and everything from balloons. I make baseball players, basketball players, hockey players, soccer players, skateboarders, snowboarders, ballet dancers, fairy princesses, mermaids, unicorns, dinosaurs of various sorts, including T-Rex, pterodactyl, stegosaurus. I make airplanes, helicopters, butterflies. My soul is dying. You don't say that. You read it in the bags under my eyes and the retinas. But one little boy at Tavern on the Green in the courtyard with several hundred people out there having fine dining, paying $45 for chicken fingers you can find in a 7-Eleven. This little boy's eyes lit up when I said fairy princess. Yes, they did. And he looked up with a newfound joy and he said, I want a fairy princess. Daddy, I want a fairy princess. But his father's face fell. And he looked at me and he said, you have destroyed my dreams of Pop Warner coaching. How am I going to be at the barbecue if he has a fairy princess? I can't wear my big apron, sir. And so he said, you don't want a fairy princess, with disdain and disgust towards his own young son. But the son didn't understand that the father had had a boner in gym class 40 years ago. And that's why he can't have a fairy princess now. And he still wanted that fairy princess. And so it began. I want a fairy princess. You can't have a fairy princess. I want a fairy princess. And I decided I would help because I'm starting to enjoy the father's discomfort. And I said, well, we can make it a black and blue manly fairy princess. And I used that voice because I am a dick. And also because the father kind of reminded me of a guy who would jerk off a golden retriever and then yell at us. You know? It just had that sense. I didn't feel like I could be on his side. And so it went back and forth some more. And it escalated. I want a fairy princess. I want a fairy princess. You can't. You can't. And it got louder and louder. And the mother started to get embarrassed. And she used that wasp trick where you don't move your mouth, but it's actually much louder and angrier. And everybody hears it. And you should let him have a fairy princess. But it still didn't stop. They kept on arguing, and now everybody is looking, and the father is getting more and more nervous, and I think his nipples are hard. And he said, you can't have a fairy princess. You can't have a fairy princess. You want a gun! And he shouted it like that in the fucking courtyard of Tavern on the Green. Where now even the fucking customers at Tavern on the Green realize this guy's a douchebag. And the wife realized that she has married a douchebag. And if this moment doesn't end, more people will remember that she is with a douchebag. And so she ended it. She said, make the fucking fairy princess. So I made it. My hands found a fanciness. My hands found a flourish. And I gave this child his fairy princess, and he took it. And he danced with it. Beautifully. Pure joy. No shame. No embarrassment. And the father looked at me with such hate, but I sat there as everybody looked with a huge fucking smile, because I am not going away until you tip me for this life lesson. He gave me $20 quickly. I took it. Victory, my friends. Now this is a room that is worthy of the maestro that is Master Lee. Please give this man your love.